Spider-Man 2 in the last video, we finally beat Venom, and Norman's blaming us for Harry's state, which sucks, but hindsight's 2020.
There are traces of brain activity, but his chances of coming back are very slim. Just keep him alive.
Get the G serum ready. ASAP.
For the last few years, tragedy has tried to tear the city apart. But we somehow kept going. We battled sickness, evil, cataclysm. We are tired, anxious, stressed, numb. But we have never lost hope. The city needs to heal. We're all ready to return to normal, but what is normal? What if it no longer exists? Over the last half hour, I've talked about how these events have changed me. But what about you? In this ongoing series, I will be talking with people throughout the city, exploring our new behaviors, new routines, new thoughts and feelings. I hope you'll join me on this journey. This has been Mary Jane Watson, and you're listening to The New Normal. Episode 1, done.
Nice.
He's good to go.
Wait a minute. I want to show you something first. It has molasses in it.
I'll take those.
Thanks again for the donation, Peter.
Have you talked to Miles?
Not yet. You ready? Miles. I've been meaning to talk to you about something. I mean, I have been talking to you there all the time. It's great to talk. So many good talks. I just haven't been talking to you about what I should have been talking to you about. Pete. Wait, Mr. Hill.
I got this. All of it. Go be Peter Parker for a while.
Are you sure? It's a big city.
I can handle it. As long as I can still call you Fort Nice.
You don't need it.
Maybe not now, but there'll come a time.
I'm here for you. Always.
Hey, bro. See ya.
Oh. So Peter's going into semi-retirement, so to speak, you could say. As far as that outfit Miles has, I mean, I can't deny that I don't like his original one better, because I do. No doubt, but you know, I mean, I don't hate it as much as some people are saying they hate it online, but I also don't absolutely adore it or love it. But I don't expect to. Poor Harry. Harry can't just catch a slack, dude. Are you kidding me? He's in isolation in the first game, and in this game he becomes Venom, goes crazy, and then gets put in a coma? Like, what? And Norman, all the while, is going absolutely bonkers the entire time. Like, you just see that man go through a wild mix of emotions. Seeing him with like the 5 o'clock shadow and like the scruff beard and all that, that was kind of neat though. It's a different look. And then of course he mentions G serum at the very end, which we all know Goblin, Green Goblin, which also puts into the notion that Norman is somewhat responsible for how the first game goes. Like the crux of the events of the first game is due to a large part of Norman Osborn and his creation of the Devil's Breath. And in this game, a large part of the reason the events happen is because, again, Norman got the symbiote from the Rock and put it on Harry. So, yeah. And now it looks like the third game is going to be about the G serum. Another thing Norman is creating or having created for Harry. First game happened because Norman was trying to cure Harry. The second game happened because Norman was trying to cure Harry. The third game is probably going to happen because Norman is trying to cure Harry. Like, jeez Louise. I love Mr. Negative's transformation in this game. That was pretty well. Like, the side quests this game has are good. And I like them. I just wish there was more of them. And I'm not saying like a tremendous amount of more, but you know, like a couple more. Like the game gave us, what, 6 friendly neighborhood Spider-Man missions? Why not 10? It's not like they were huge or big. One of them, you just found a grandpa and sat on a chair with him for a little bit. Another one was a flashback mission where you rode on a bike as Peter and beat up some thugs and then raced to Jameson. Like, give me more flashback missions. One of them was you play as Haley, tagging. Also, the art in this is phenomenal. Like, holy cow. This art, like, really good. Kingpin? I mean, I know that's Norman. Is he visiting Kingpin? Who's he visiting? Doc? Ock?
What do you want?
Spider-Man. You know who they are, don't you?
Why?
They ruined my son.
Perspective.
Good. We all have to experience loss. Even you, Norman.
What are you writing?
The final chapter.
What? The final chapter. So he plans on getting out. That's for sure. Interesting. So, Matt, you just get rid of Norman Osborn and none of this happens. Devil's Breath doesn't become a thing. Martin Lee and Doc Ock don't need vengeance on him. Mr. Negative never becomes a thing. Doc Ock may or may not still become a thing. The symbiote's not found by him and put on Harry. And he has no reason to make the G-Serum. Well, I guess technically he still has reasons to make the G-Serum because Harry's still sick. But you take him out before the G-Serum's created or commissioned, boom, you're good. Norman just needs to die and everything will go right in the world again. How do you heal the world? You take out Norman Osborn, that's how. But that's intriguing. Norman basically not begging, but his version of it. Hey, ASL. Trying to get information out of Doc Ock. Also, he only knows one of them because when he was fighting Spider-Man, there weren't Spider-Men. It was just Pete. So he knows Peter Parker. But I am really fascinated because it's like, I know Insomniac stated that going forward Miles Morales is the main Spider-Man, but that doesn't mean Peter's gone. But at the same time, it's like the emotional weight of the story is on Peter. Peter's the one emotionally invested with like Norman, Harry. That's why this game doesn't work as well if it's just only Miles Morales. Because Miles Morales doesn't have the emotional weight tied to Harry Osborn as the Venom that Peter Parker does. The emotional weight is still there, but it's like they're common connectors. They both have dead parents, right? Harry's mom, Miles' dad. That's their common confactor. It's like, yeah, you can do a video game with as much emotional weight as you want with Kraven and Miles and only Kraven and Miles. Like, that could totally work. But the emotional weight of the setup is Harry Osborn as Venom doesn't work with just Miles. You can do it, but it's not going to be as impactful. It's not going to be as emotional. It's not going to be as hard hitting. It's not going to hit the same. It's going to feel muted, right? Because the weight of the emotional storytelling is with Peter and Harry. Their dream of trying to heal the world together. That was the crux of the story. Harry and Pete trying to heal the world together, and then he gets corrupted by Venom, and Venom has his own way of quote-unquote healing the world, or convincing Harry of healing the world. But because Harry's still a part of the symbiote, they still want Pete, because that's what makes his dream complete, is healing the world together with Peter. Which is also shown at the end of the game when he goes up and he chokes Mary Jane, and he's like, he doesn't need you anymore because he has us. Right? And even though he's really close friends with MJ, Venom's focusing on the heal the world aspect, and then the heal the world aspect of Harry's dream, MJ's not even there. She's not a part of the process. But Pete is. Pete's the other half of it, the co-CEO, whatnot. So it's like, yeah. I don't know. I remember that being a big debate after Spider-Man 1. Or the first Marvel Spider-Man game. Because Into the Spider-Verse came out that same year. Which kicked off a spike in Miles Morales' popularity. And because Miles was in the first game, people were like, oh, in the second game, it should just be Miles only. No Pete. It should only be Miles. And it's like, well, that's a bit weird. Why would you only want Miles? Why not both? That's the perfect counterbalance, is you have both. That was the obvious solution, and that was my solution, is do an Assassin's Creed Syndicate style game. You have Jacob and Evie Fryer, and you can switch between the two at will in the overworld whenever you want. And then there are certain missions where you have to play as Evie, and there are certain missions you have to play as Jacob, and there are certain missions you can do either of them because it doesn't matter. That's how I always thought this game should have been, and that's what they did. When you're swinging around New York, you can be whoever. For most of the side content, you can play as whoever. Except for the flashback sequence, you have to do as Peter. And the Haley mission you have to interact with as Miles, because Haley and Miles are the connecting factor there. I also noticed there's a lot less of Genki in this game than I was expecting. But maybe that's just because I didn't play as Miles as often. But yeah, I just remember the flood of comments of people trying to, how do you put it? Trying to convince themselves that a Miles and Harry Venom game can work just as well, if not better, than a Peter Harry Venom game. And it's like, well, no, because you're cutting the emotional weight out of it. At that point, it's just good versus bad. There's no drama, emotional attachment. Like, the weight is gone. It's just a generic story at that point, which isn't what Insomniac's doing. Because Miles's emotional crux in this game was with Martin Lee. Not Kraven. Not Venom. Not the Lizard. With Martin Lee. Whereas Kraven and Lizard are pretty neutral party members that Peter and Miles interact with. Because you got your two neutral ones, Lizard and Kraven. And then you have Miles's emotional antagonist, which is Martin Lee. And you have Peter's emotional antagonist, which is Venom, Harry. But a lot of the Martin Lee stuff is done at the beginning of the game, and then there's a long stretch of where it's just Kraven and Lizard, and then shortly after Lizard, tying alongside the end of the Kraven and the beginning of the Venom. And then they wrap up the Martin Lee plot point near the end of the beginning portion of Venom's arc in this game. But yeah, I don't think this game just works as well if it was just Miles and Harry Osborn's Venom. Like some people are trying to convince themselves of. And I think a lot of that debate is why Insomniac did Spider-Man Miles Morales, was to give those people what they wanted, a Miles Morales game where he had a lot of emotional attachment to with Finn, you know, his best friend. So saying a Miles Morales Harry Osborn Venom game works so good or works great together is like saying a Peter Parker Finn Tinkerer game would work really well together and work really great. Like, no. A Peter Parker against Finn as the Tinkerer doesn't work. Like, you could do it, but just like the Miles of Harry Osborn Venom thing, it's good guy, bad guy. The emotional weight's gone. The attachment's not there anymore. There's no more ties. There's no more backstory. It's just good guy see bad guy. Bad guy see good guy. They fight. They spout ideals at each other. And that's why Miles Morales with Finn worked so well. They were childhood friends. It'd only been like a couple years since they'd seen each other, but they were really close. And their ideals were aligning to an extent and then differing within what's the word? It's not outcome. I mean, that's what you're working towards. Ways of attack? I don't know. It's like they had the same idea. They just wanted to go about it drastically different ways. Miles was sort of peaceful, and Finn's was more destructive. Destruction was happening regardless. But it's like, obviously, I don't think they're gonna cut Peter Parker completely out of Spider-Man 3. His Spider-Man. I think he'll still be playable. I think Spider-Man 3 will probably play a lot like Spider-Man 2. But flipped a little bit. And what I mean by flipped a little bit is, I mean, you'll probably play as more. You'll probably be playing as Miles more in main story missions. Whereas in this game, if I had to give it a ratio, I'd almost say, because it's not quite 50-50, I think you do play as Peter Parker more frequently. Because like I said, a lot of the crux with the story was Harry and Peter. Was their friendship, their dreams, their goal to heal the world. That was the crux of it all. That was the almost centerpiece focus of it. Them trying to heal the world together, as Harry is trying to find a way to heal himself through all these means. And then you have Kraven, who just shows up trying to find somebody to kill him because he's got cancer and he's dying. And he doesn't want to die to cancer, he wants to die in battle. So he's looking for anybody and everybody that could end him, give him what he wants, he needs. But he was very much the B focus, right? The A focus is Harry. Harry is technically the true main antagonist of this game. And you can see the same kind of shift in Spider-Man. Kraven is the Mr. Negative of this game. The first game, Mr. Negative is your focus. Your main antagonist for the first and second arc of that game. And then Doc Ock comes and he is revealed as the true main antagonist of the game. Being the final boss fight and everything. And it's very much the same here. Kraven is the main antagonist throughout the first and second arc of this game. Except he dies at the end of the second arc of this one. Mr. Negative just goes to prison and then comes right back out. In the first one. And then Venom is the Doc Ock of this game. He comes in the third act. And is the main villain. In the first game you had prisoners and the Sinister Six. In this game you had the symbiote suits, which were way more durable than the prisoners. And just like in the first game, with the second game, you have Sandman and Kingpin. Big name you take down at the very beginning. Whereas you kind of have that in Miles Morales. It doesn't have 3 arcs to it, and it doesn't have a plot twist villain. It's just the Tinkerer the entire time. As like your super villain antagonist. And then you have like the guy from Roxxon as like the scummy Norman of the Miles Morales game. And the game starts off with a big name as your boss fight, Rhino. But your Doc Ock Venom of Miles Morales is Finn as a Tinkerer. You know, but it's weird because in that one, they're both fighting for somewhat of the same thing, just going about it drastically, destructively different ways. But yeah, I think the third game will probably follow a similar beat as the first one in Spider-Man 2. And that's, the game will start off, you'll take down a recognizable name, whoever that may be. Hydro Man, maybe. Then they'll introduce a Craven, Mr. Negative-like villain who will be your main villain for the meat of the game. Right? They'll be the main villain for like over half the game. And then the third act will bring in the true villain who's been working in the background or gets corrupted and then comes out of nowhere. Probably that one. That's kind of what happened in both games. Doc Ock was working in the background, but not to become a villain, just working in the background in Spider-Man 1. And then he gets corrupted by his creation. And it's the same thing with this one. The symbiote suit was cooking. It was doing stuff. It just wasn't like the forefront villain. You see it, it's present, it's in Harry, it's on Pete. And then in the third act, it finally corrupts Harry to be the villain so they could heal the world in his vision. But his vision wasn't complete without Pete, because that's how he always envisioned in healing the world, was with Pete. But who that meteor villain could be in Spider-Man 3, I don't know. I think it's obvious that the final act villain of 3 will be Green Goblin. It just makes the most sense. You know? Because the symbiote suit was teased at the end of Spider-Man 1. So you knew Spider-Man 2 was going to be about Venom in some way, shape, or form. And you knew it was going to be Harry. And it did. Well, I guess I shouldn't say. You knew, like, we could figure out from context clues that more than likely it was going to be Harry. And it was. And that tease ended up being that he was the main villain of Spider-Man 2. But then all the social media outlets come out and the trailers come out, and a large part of the focus of the trailers and the marketing of Spider-Man 2, outside of the very first teaser trailer, was on Kraven and Lizard. And Lizard is a very short-lived section of this game. It's like, maybe 3 hours of this game is with the Lizard. Less, maybe even. From the time you see him turn into the Lizard at the end of the zoo mission to curing him. It's a very short-lived portion of the game. But they kept him alive. That's an important thing to note. Unlike the countless of villains they killed, Electro, Vulture, Scorpion, Shocker, Kraven did die too. Trying to think, because Mr. Negative lives, but we don't know if he has his powers anymore. Rhino's AFK, but somebody found his head on a mantle or something like that, out of bounds. So it's like, it's not confirmed if he's dead or not. It really isn't. You save Tombstone, so he could always go bad at any time. I don't think Hammerhead dies at the end of the DLC, and he's not even mentioned in this game. Same thing with Kingpin, so he's still alive. But I would say that was a pretty ballsy move to kill off Electro, Vulture, Shocker, Scorpion. So those are some 4 pretty iconic Spider-Man villains. For sure. And then Kraven dies as well. But Craven being there was very circumstantial to begin with, so it makes sense. Whereas the other four just kind of live there. But if I had to pick a favorite mission, I really like the zoo mission. Where you start off as Mary Jane, it's our first mission, and then it ends up with Pete dying, and then Harry giving the symbiote suit accidentally to Pete to save his life. Lizard starts turning, Craven gets obliterated by Harry in the symbiote suit. The chapel scene with Craven and Pete, leading to that boss fight. That boss fight was rough. Which is shortly followed by the Venom Rampage segment, which is really freaking dope. That was a satisfying section to play, and then a much easier Craven boss fight. Oh yeah, it's the Pete Craven boss fight followed by the Miles versus Black Symbiote Pete suit. But I don't think I would say that mission's my favorite. It's just a really cool moment. I would really have to say it's probably the zoo mission, the Venom Rampage, or you have the mission where Mary Jane's following the Black Symbiote suit. I really love that mission as well. Where MJ's following the black suit, taking out goons. Sometimes it switches the Miles to beat up some people. Pretty sure he gets knocked out by Chameleon, which isn't confirmed, but I mean, it has to be. It was just a normal looking dude that knocks him out, so it's like, it has to be Chameleon that did it. Which makes sense, because it's Craven's brother, but it's like, still, it has to be. There's no way it's not. So yeah, Chameleon's still alive. So he could potentially be the Meteor villain of Spider-Man 3. Till it leads into Goblin. That is quite a possibility. He's trying to get revenge for Craven because he didn't get to kill Craven. He wanted to kill Craven. I can see that. I can buy that. And if it's not just Chameleon will probably be a part of it. Because he went to Doc Ock at the very end of the game to talk to Doc Ock to try to get the identity of the Spider-Man out of him, even though he only knows one of the identities. And not both. Which will probably play a trick. Like, he gets Pete's name, and that's what drags Pete back into the fold. But he keeps going after Miles, thinking it's Pete. I can see that being a beat. A plot beat. So some long credits. But it's like, I'm just thinking. I mean, the very end there, where you get to control MJ stealing the Black Rock, and then it switches to the boss fight with Venom, which I felt dragged on. Like, I don't think it should have been that many waves. Also, the dodging was unresponsive at some points, and then I know a part of it's my fault too, that I kept dying so much because I never got in tuned with parrying, right? So my mind never adjusted to parrying. Never did. I don't think it ever will. But that was a big part of my issue with the Venom fight, was parrying. Like, the portion with Miles was not nearly as hard as the portion with Pete. The portion with Pete was like, what? 2 really drawn out phases. My other thing is, I swear, I feel like you should get more juice back when you do a perfect dodge. Because that's the other thing. You have to dodge until you can heal. And while you're doing that, he throws you a parry one or an unblockable one. And there was only once I got hit by an unblockable where I was like, that's bullshit. I dodged that. There was a couple where I was like, yeah, technically. I can see how I got caught in that. Like the one with Miles, I'm pretty sure, where I was just getting overwhelmed. Was it Miles or was it Pete? It was one of the two. I just remember being overwhelmed by a swarm of enemies. And in that swarm, he just comes out of nowhere and gets me with it. And I'm like, wow, that is so dumb. Like, I really just got bodied by a bunch of people to the point to where there was no way I could dodge or jump out of the way of that attack. Mostly the dodge. There was that 3-hit combo he does where it's just strikes, because he's got the one where he does like the web slams. But there's also the one where he like does like a punch, a scratch, and then a slam. And I swear, 90% of the time, that scratch attack connected regardless of whether or not I pressed circle when my spidey senses tingled. Which is kind of annoying. Like, bro. Count my circle dodge on that strike. I don't understand why it connected so much. Like, that's the only one that baffles me. The not parrying as much as I should have was my fault. Which is probably why I got hit a lot and damaged a lot. Just because I just didn't parry a lot of his attacks. Because I was either dodging out of the way and the attack hits regardless. I then dodge out of the way and I dodged backwards and the attack comes forwards. So I'm getting hit regardless instead of dodging to the left or right. I mean, sometimes even when you dodge left or right, you still got hit because you didn't dodge enough out of the way. Sometimes even when you're trying to jump, it gets you. So it's like you're not warned enough in advance to jump out of the way of that. Which I believe is just... What the hell? A slice of cheesy crust stuffed pizza in the hands of a woman? What? I don't... What is this? What? Oh, it's... a picture. Okay, I get it now. Because this is them basically saying, hey, we got permission, or this is how we got to use it. Some of these are even buildings. But yeah, I mean... that slash attack messed me up so much. It wasn't even funny. Victor Fun. Oh, Vector. Victor. Victor Fun, baby. But yeah, no. Like, that's rough. But aside from this game, which was phenomenal, by the way, it's like, I'm gonna have to mull on it to see if I still like it more than Spider-Man 1. Because I know a lot of people like to say, oh, Spider-Man ranking goes Spider-Man 2, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, but no, I still rank Spider-Man above Miles Morales. Miles Morales is still second, in my opinion, like, I'm factoring this game. Like, just Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and then all the other older games. For me, it goes Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Web of Shadows, probably Shattered Dimension? No. Spider-Man Neversoft, and then Shattered Dimensions. Not factoring in this game. That Spider-Man 1's just a better game. There's much more story to it. The DLC fleshes it out pretty well. Yuri's such a great character. Ooh.
Haley, hi. Hope you're hungry.
Food's almost ready. Why don't you go show her your essay? You worked so hard on it.
Oh, the smile on his face.
Some guy in Harlem. Probably seen him volunteering in the city, helping out his city council mom, trying to live up to his hero dad.
Hi. Miles, Haley. This is Albert.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Oh, and this is my daughter, Cindy.
Who? Who are Albert and Cindy? Yeah, I don't wanna.
What's up, New York?
That's all you gotta say? What's up, New York? Alright. So, I know there's one left. Oh.
Welcome back, Dana Club. We did it. We survived the impossible. Drove back a friggin' alien invasion. And we did it together. As heroes. Spider-Man led the way, and every day New Yorkers rose to the challenge. Today I am so pleased to talk with one of those heroes. Author, journalist, and avid motorcyclist. Please welcome Mary Jane Watson. Thanks, Danica. Please call me MJ. MJ it is. So, I ate up your book about Symkaria in a single sitting. Thank you for giving this to the world. It's so important. I heard we're going to get even more of your words in the form of a new project. Can you tell us more about it? Happy to. I've been thinking a lot about what's really important. Nothing will make you rethink your life like a citywide alien invasion, right? Relatable. And I realized how important the truth is. I started a podcast called The New Normal. I don't know where New York is headed, but I'm looking forward to finding out. With all of you out there. I want to be honest and report what's really happening in the city. Straight up. No exaggerations, no clickbait, you know?
I know exactly what you mean. When you let that junk creep in, it takes over the truth. Warps it into something else, like a
symbiote.
Mary Jane Watson, everybody. Any last notes you'd like to leave us with?
Stay safe out there. Oh, and if you have motorcycle insurance, make sure it includes a villain damage clause.
I could feel the pain in your voice there.
I'm working through it.
Danica Hart and Mary Jane Watson, signing off.
Nice. There it is. But I think we'll save that for the finale. It's literally the only thing left. No, wrong thing. Oh, yeah. This other color scheme. Nice. Oh, now that the game's over, you can use this game's symbiote suit. Wait, what? Oh. One's black and one's more symbiote-esque, like Venom's style and design. I get it. I get it. This will... Oh, that's right. Yeah, this game is like... Where is it? Yeah, this one. This is like the comic book version, and this is like this game's version of that suit. More organic and alien looking. And then this is it all Venomified for sure. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, we'll deal with that in the next episode when we go and do our last thing this game has to offer. Hope you have a great day. Remember, you can be the best you could possibly be. Ta-ta for now.